continue solving quadratic equations, remember the generic way to write the quadratic equation is like that. Ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a, b, and c are just some constants, right? So far we have learned how to factor and solve them with square roots method, and also what method? What was the very first method that we learned? Factoring, right? So we did factoring, we did square roots. The problem is sometimes these two methods don't work. So today we are going to learn another method that's called completing the square. And the good thing about this method is that it works all the time. Every single time you have the quadratic equation, this method will work. So pay attention. Okay, there are several steps, 8 steps involved when we use this method to solve quadratic equation. So we'll look at the first example and go through all the steps, and that's when we will go for lunch, I guess. First step, put equation into the form ax squared plus bx equals constant. So I want to take all the terms that don't have any x's on one side of the equation and leave the term with the variable on another side. If I'm looking at my first example, x squared minus 8x minus 20 equals 0, what do I need to do? Add 20, right? Because I want this constant by itself on the other side. So I have x squared minus 8x equals 20. That's the first step. Step number 2, we divide all parts by a. A from the generic form, right? So that's the leading coefficient. Do I need to do anything here in this example?
No.
No, because my a is already 1, right? So I can, if I divide by 1, nothing will change. So I'll just rewrite, just so we don't have any mistakes. Step number 3, take half of b and square it, right? So what is my b? My b is right here, right? Negative 8. So I take my b, negative 8, I divide it by 2 to get my half of b, and then I square it. So negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4, and then I square it, and I have 16. Right? Negative 4 squared is just positive 16. Now, I take that result, my 16, whatever I got in number 3, and add it to both sides of my equation, the last form of it. So I take my 16, my 16, right? Yeah. I rewrite my last equation, x squared minus 8x, and then I do plus 16 on this side equals 20 and plus 16 on the other side. See what I did? I rewrote the equation from step number 2, and then I added my 16 on both sides, right here. Now, next step is to factor the left side into the perfect square. So whatever I have here on the left side, this trinomial, I need to factor it. You can factor it as we did before, right, using the t-chart and all that stuff. Sometimes it will work, sometimes it will get pretty ugly. So the trick here is that you can just take the half of b right here, this half of b, and use it in my factor x minus 4 squared equals, and then whatever I have here, I just simplify. 20 plus 16 is 36. Let me just do this. 36, 36. See what I did? I rewrote x, and then minus 4 came from the half of b, right here. That's my b divided by 2. My b minus 8 divided by 2, that gives me negative 4, so I just use it here. If I factor this trinomial the normal way with the t-chart, that's exactly what I would get. X minus 4 times x minus 4, or x minus 4 squared. So that's why we do this little trick to save us time. And sometimes, you know, the trinomial will have some ugly coefficients, so we want to know that trick. So right here, let's write. The number inside your perfect square is always half of b. This b over 10 over 2. And now we know how to solve this, right? We learned it last time, the square root method. Correct? Didn't you get this? Half of b. Okay. Not yet. We'll finish this and then we'll go to lunch, right? The bill didn't finish yet. Okay, we know how to solve these using the square root method, correct? How do we do this? I have the perfect square on one side, and then I have the number on the other. So what do I do? Oh wait, let's finish, like 1 minute. What do I do? I take the square root, right? I take the square root of one side and square root of the other, and I don't forget. That's mine. You are not going to pay attention, are you? No. Just go.
You want to pause it?
I need to put it. Okay. So square root of x minus 4 squared is what?
X minus 4.
Just x minus 4 equals plus minus, what is the square root of 36?
6.
6. I need to get my x by itself. I need to solve for x. So what do? I add 4. So plus 4 and plus 4. I have x equals 4 plus or minus 6. Right? How many answers do I have here? 2 solutions. The first solution is 4 plus 6 is 10. And the second solution is 4 minus 6, which is negative 2. So 2 solutions, 10 and negative 2. And now the last step is to actually check solution. How do we check the solutions of the equation? You plug them in, right? We take each of them and plug them into the original equation. So 10. I'll just look at my original equation and plug in 10. So it will be 10 squared, so I'm checking the solution 10. 10 squared minus 8 times 10, minus 20. Minus 20. So we can use calculator or do it in our head. 10 squared 100 minus 8 times 10, 80. That gives me 20 minus 20, 0. Solution checks out, right? Then I do the same for the second one. Since I don't have. So this is the first one and now the second one. Negative 2. So negative 2 squared minus 8 times negative 2 minus 20. Negative 2 squared is 4 minus negative 16 is plus 16. 20 minus 20 is 0. Check. This is the calculator. Questions? I know there are a lot of steps until practice. But any questions? Okay, so let's do the second one. Yeah.
It's still going.
Step by step through all of this. So the original equation is now 3x squared plus 18x plus 25 equals 17. A little bit more scary, right? We have constants on both sides, we have the leading coefficient that is not 1. So the first step is the same, get the constant out on the other side. Put the equation into the form ax squared plus bx equals constant. What do I need to do?
Subtract the 25.
Subtract 25. I have 3x squared plus 18x equals, what is it, 45.
45.
Step number 2, divide all parts by a, the coefficient of x squared. What is my coefficient?
3.
3. So I divide everything by 3. X squared plus 18x divided by 3 is what? 6x equals 15. Now I take half of b and square it. So my b is 6. So I take half of b, 6, and then I square it. Take half of it, and then I square it. Right? So 6 over 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. Right? So I took my b, half of it squared. Now I take number 3 and add it to both sides of this equation. So I rewrite my equation x squared plus 6x, and now I need to take that 9 plus 9 equals 15 and plus 9 again. Right? So I'm adding my 9 to both sides of the equation so that I don't change it. Now I need to factor the trinomial that I have here. Let's simplify. 15 plus 9 is what? 24. So now I need to factor this trinomial. And because I remember that 3, right, I just take that half b, which is 3, and say x plus 3 squared. See where the 3 comes from? This 3 comes from here. It's b half of b. See that? So I take that number and put it here. And I know by design, this is what this trinomial will factor into. It's a perfect square. Okay? And then I just say my 24 equals 24 from the first. And now I solve by the square root method. So what do? How do I solve by square root? I take square root of both sides. So square root of x plus 3 to the power of 2 equals square root of 24. And what I don't forget what? Plus and minus. Two solutions, right? So square root of x plus 3 to the power of 2 is what? What do I have on the
Plus 4.
just x plus 3, right? Equals plus minus square root of 24. Can I simplify that?
You have to use factor ladder.
Yes, we can use the factor ladder. So 24 divided by what? 2, 12 divided by 2, 6 divided by 2, 3 divided by 3, 1. How many pairs do I have?
1.
Just this one, right? So I can simplify the square root of 24 as 2 square root of 6. So it's kind of messy. And now I get x by itself. So from here I want to see x equals. How do I do that? Minus 3, right? Minus 3 minus 3. So it's negative 3 plus minus 2 square root of 6. How many solutions do I have? 2 solutions. One solution is negative 3 plus 2 square root of 6. The second solution is negative 3 minus 2 to the square root of 6. How do we check this? We can use calculator, right? We can do this by hand, but because of this radical, it's kind of messy. So we'll just do it on the calculator. On the calculator, I can just take, first enter the solution. So it was negative 3 plus, first solution, what is it, 2 square roots of 6, right? Yes, so 2 times square root of 6. And I say enter. So this is my answer. Now I want to put it back into the original equation, which was 3 times, I take my answer from before, square it. Then I say plus 18 times and I take the answer from before, and then plus 25 equals, I need 70, it's 70. Checks out. I can do the same for the second one, right? So I will have to calculate what the second one is. So negative 3 plus minus, because the second solution is with the minus sign. 2 times square root of 6 enter. So different solution, negative number, and then I can repeat 3 times my answer from before squared plus 18 times answer from before. Huh?
You put 118.
Oh yes, thank you. So delete 18. Answer from before, and then plus 25 equals 70. So both solutions satisfy the original equation. Questions? No questions. Okay, and then we are done. So just to calculate. Questions? Are you sleepy after lunch? Okay, should we do this one? That's it, that's the new material. Now just practice. All the same stuff. Huh? Practice, practice, practice. So should we do the first one together or by yourself?
Together.
Together. Let's do this one together. So step number 1. What do?
Subtract.
I subtract 30 because I want to get constant on the other side of the variables. So subtract 30 from both sides. I have minus 3x squared plus 15x equals negative 30. Now what do? Step number 2. Bill, what do? I divide by negative 3 to get rid of the leading coefficient. So I have x squared minus 5x equals 10. Now what do?
You divide negative 5 by 2.
Yes.
What
So
happens if we get a decimal?
Okay, let's see what happens, right? So I take my b, right? And I say negative 5, well, my b with the negative sign, right? The whole b. So negative 5 divided by 2 and then square it, right? I can do this on the calculator and figure out what this decimal is, or I can just leave it as a fraction. I like fractions, I'll just leave it as a fraction. So when I square the fraction, what do I have? 25 over 4, correct?
Yep.
Because whenever we square the fraction, we square numerator and we square denominator separately, and it's still a fraction. I can do that. Or I can have the decimal. If I want to use calculator, that's fine also. Okay? If I use calculator, I will have what? 6.25. That's fine also. Decimal or fraction? I like fractions. Now what do? We add this number to the both sides of this equation, right? So I rewrite x squared minus 5x, and then I need to add, so it's equals 10, and then I need to add whatever, either fraction or decimal, doesn't matter. So I take this number and say plus 25 over 4, plus 25 over 4. Okay, so the answer from previous step goes there. And now I need to factor this trinomial. How do I factor this trinomial? Using my trick. Right, remember, half of b is this. Right, so this is my half of b. I know how to use it now. I take x, and then I say minus 5 over 2 squared. And this 5 over 2 comes from here. This is half b. Okay, equals, and then 10 plus 25 over 4 is what?
Where did you get the 10 from?
10 was the original equation. See? X squared minus 5x equals 10, x squared minus 5x equals 10, and then I add the 25 over 4 to both sides. So if I'm using the fractions, that gives me what? 65 over 4, right? If I'm using decimals, you would have 16.25. Doesn't matter, same number, different representation. And now I know how to solve this. How do I solve it? Square root method. What do I do, David? What do I do? How to solve this? I have perfect square here and the number here. Square root method. Square roots, both sides. Right? So I take the square root of both sides, and then I don't forget what? Negative, plus and minus. So plus and minus. Correct? So the square root of this perfect square is just x minus 5 over 2 equals plus minus. Can I simplify this?
You can't simplify the 65.
Yes. 65 over, oh, this. Sorry. Yes, 65. So I cannot, well, I could try to simplify this, right?
It's 4.03.
Yeah, I don't want to do the decimals now because I will, if I just use calculator to find out what this number is, it will give me like the decimals with many numbers after the point, right? And then when I plug them in, it will be the rounding error, so I don't want to do that. So instead I want to simplify this right. So square root of 65 over 4, right? The square root of the fraction is this fraction. It's two radicals, numerator and denominator, correct? So square root of 4 is just 2, and then square root of 65, can we simplify that?
No.
No.
502.
We could try the factor ladder, right? But it wouldn't work because what? 65 can be divided by what?
5.
3. 3 is the smallest one, correct? No, it's
No,
not
5.
divided by 5, yeah. It's not divided by 3, so just 5. That gives us 13 and 1. So there are no pairs. That is why we leave it as is. Square root of 65 over 2. And now we solve for x. How to solve for x?
Add the 5 over 2 over.
Add the 5 over 2. So I have x equals 5 over 2 plus or minus square root of 65 divided by 2. This ugly solution. Solution nevertheless. So we still need to check it, right? Should we check it using calculator? Let's check one. First one. Okay, so clear everything. I entered the solution first. What is the solution? 5 over 2, 5 divided by 2, let's do plus square root of 65 divided by 2. So this is my answer. Now I plug it into the original. So negative 3 times my answer squared plus 15 times my answer from before plus 13. And it's 0. Works. What is the question then?
Never mind.
Never mind. So first I entered the solution, right? And I calculate that number. And then I use it in the original equation. I don't have to do this, right? I could just write the whole original equation and instead of answer put this whole thing. But I would have to repeat it. That's why I'm saving kind of space in there. Questions? Who is lost? How many people are completely lost?
Maybe you don't really lost.
3, 4?
You're lost. Not really.
Yeah. It's like
Okay, let's do one more together.
understand what's going on, but not at the same time.
Try to use, whenever we do these steps, go back to the table with the steps. Make sure that you understand which is each step, right? We are here, then we are here, we are here. So just go step by step to make sure that you can do this by yourself later. So let's just do this one again together. If you are clear on what to do it by yourself. Check the answer with us. Something doesn't work out, I'll come back. I'll come to you and help you out. Okay, so what is the first step to do? Kevin, what is my first step? Yes, I want to subtract 33 because I want the constant on the other side. So x squared minus 6x equals negative 33. So this is step 1. Step 1. Now step 2. Oops. It's step 2. What do I do here? Kevin. This step 2, I want to be very formal. Step 2 says divide all parts by coefficient of x squared. Do I need to do anything? No, because coefficient is already 1, right? So no need to do anything. Skip, because a is already 1, right? Nothing to do. Step 3. What is my step 3? David, what is the step 3? Go back to your table. Tell me what step 3 is.
Take out the b and square it.
Yes, so what is my b?
Negative 6.
Negative 6. So I take negative 6. So negative 6, half of it, and square it. Right? So let's just see what's inside. Negative 6 over 2 is what? Negative 3 squared is what? Negative 3 squared? David?
What? 9.
9. Okay, done with that step. Step number 4 is what? Who is doing it with us? Yes, Hen. What is the step number 4? Yes, correct. So I take my equation, the last form of it, right? So in my case, it's x squared minus 6x equals negative 33. But now I take my 9 here and add it to both sides. We're done with step number 4. Now step number 5. You can help me with step number 5. Leah, what is step number 5? I need to factor this side, the left side, right, the trinomial, into the perfect square. We know by design it will be perfect square. So it will be x minus something or plus something. What is it? Using our trick, that hint below the table. What is it? That's half of the b, right? So right here, highlighter, this half of b, before we square it, that's what we will add. Negative 3. Then we square it. Right? So step number 5, we'll just take that half b, add it to our x variable, squared equals, and then I just need to simplify this. Negative 33 plus 9 is what? Negative, what is it? 24, I think, right? No? 24. Okay. And now step number 6. What is our step number 6? Square root both sides, right? So I add the square root on both sides. Square root and then square root. I'll just write it so that it's very clear. Negative 24, and then I don't forget plus minus. Never forget plus minus. And then step number 7 is to solve for x. Step number 7, right? So the square root of this perfect square is just what? X. Oh, yeah. Let me just, one second. Let me just change this. Okay, so this is just x minus 3 equals plus minus, and the square root of negative 24. Can I simplify square root of negative 24? Isaiah, you know how to do that, right? Square root of negative 24 is what? It's I times. What is square root of 24? Can I simplify that? Yes, I can do this. 24 factor ladder. Divided by 2 gives me 12. Divided by 2 gives me 6. Divided by 2 gives me 3. 3, 1. My pairs, just one pair of 2's. So I write it as what at the end? I still need to solve for x though, right? So what do I do here? I add 3. So my x equals 3 plus or minus 2 square roots of 6i. Complex numbers. How many solutions do I have? 2 solutions. How do I check my solution? I go to calculator. I can do this by hand, of course, but easier to do in the calculator, right? So let's do that in the calculator. I enter my solution. I need to change the mode. It's already changed, so I'm good. Okay, so the solution is 3 plus 2 times square root of 6 times I. Yes. So enter. And now I enter it into the original equation. So x squared means my answer squared. Minus 6x minus 6 times answer. Minus 6 times my answer. And then minus 33. Minus 33. Give me 0. Oh, that didn't work, did it? Interesting. 2 times square root of 6 times I plus. The answer didn't work. Is it? I'm using something wrong in the calculator. I'm sure I'm doing something in the calculator, right? And 3 plus 2i square root of 6. 3 plus 2 square root of 6i.
Okay, that's one of the answers that you have, right? Okay, so put this in your calculator and then put store You see this STO right above your on? Hit that and hit X. Yeah, okay? Basically, what you just did was you told the calculator, anytime I click X, it means 3 plus 2I root 6. Okay? So is right above the on. Alright? So then now that you stored this into X, you can just go plug in your original equation. What was your original problem? Hello? What was the original problem? X squared, so X squared minus 6X plus 33, and that's equal to 0. Okay, so when I hit enter, if this is the right solution, it should equal 0, right? Good. Okay? I love the store function. Use that for everything.
3 plus 2i.
Okay?
I'm just solving it so the students can check their answers.
Hey, Miss R, is it okay? My next period is PE, but since I'm coming back here afterwards to get help, can I just leave my stuff in here?
Yes.
Okay, I'll just leave it behind your desk.
Yes.
I have used my locker. I'm putting this here.
Yeah. It was kind of starting out earlier today at lunchtime. Kind of surprised.
Everyone check your answers for number, what is it? 6. Made a mistake. It's plus.
Oh no.
How come nobody screamed? Minus 1, minus 1, minus 1, minus plus. Hannah. Hannah. I made a mistake. This is the final answer. Thank you.
You were the only one that called it out.
Oh.
Who called it out then?
You.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was the only one who saw the mistake. Thank you.
Will, did you